All right, good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Awesome. Welcome to GitHub. We're so excited to be here today. I've been looking forward to this day and the news we're going to share with you here today for months, and the whole GitHub team has too. There's a lot of GitHub employees here in the room. There's a lot of developers, open source developers, developers locally here in San Francisco, and there's thousands more folks watching on the various live streams. So welcome this morning to GitHub. We're very excited. This is the second time in about 3.5 months that we've done a new product announcement on this stage, and it's a lot of fun. It's really great. We do one announcement, super crisp and exciting. And for those of you who are here in person, the GitHub employees who are here are the ones who built the product we're announcing, so they'd love to talk to you about what you think, get your feedback, answer your questions, that sort of thing. Before we get into our announcement today, I wanted to take a step back and sort of recap some of the recent things we've been up to at GitHub, because 2019 has been a very busy year at GitHub. We started the year in January by making private repos, unlimited private repos, free for all developers. It's pretty awesome. At the beginning of spring, we announced the GitHub package registry so that you can share packages for private and public repos. You get a feed for every repo. We've had an awesome reception to that. We announced the acquisition of Dependabot to create automatic security remediation pull requests if you have vulnerable dependencies. That's now free for all developers. In May in Berlin, we announced GitHub Sponsors, which allows you to financially support the developers that you follow on GitHub. If you like their work, if you want them to do more of it, you have the option to subscribe and give them your patronage, which we're very excited about. It's been really well received. And then really recently, we announced PullPanda, the acquisition of PullPanda, which helps you and your teams more productively work together, stay on top of pull requests, reduce your code review times. Developers are loving PullPanda. And then just last month, we released GitHub Desktop 2.0, which now has support for rebasing and stashing and lots of other great features. And it's just been an awesome run for the last 6 months or so. This isn't everything, though. This is really just the tip of the iceberg. The team has shipped over 100 new product enhancements just this year. So it's been awfully busy. The team has worked really hard here at GitHub, and I'm happy to share, though, that the momentum that we're seeing is not just in our engineering teams and the stuff we're shipping in the product, it's in the community as well. And so today, I want to share with you that more developers are using GitHub now than ever before. And in fact, just this week, we hit a huge milestone with more than 40 million developers on GitHub. This is an astounding stat. If you go out and you read industry surveys, people will say there's about 15 to 20 million total developers in the world. So who are all these 40 million people then? That's what I want to know. Now, with so many developers on GitHub, we hear all the time from you, from developers, about what's exciting, what's fun, and also what's challenging about building software in 2019. And one of the things that comes up again and again is the need that developers and teams have to automate manual processes, so that you can focus on the hard problems in the projects that you're building. So you can do the creative work and write the code that matters and automate everything else, eliminate the drudgery. So the way teams typically do this is there's a set of services and tools that are out there, and you'll kind of wire these together and connect them to build your workflows. And then you want those workflows to run perfectly every time. And these are things like you're doing a new release, and you need to draft the release notes, or issues and pull requests are coming in, and you want to triage and label those as they come in. Or, of course, you want to build, test, and deploy your code. So at the end of 2018, we introduced GitHub Actions, which is a platform for developer workflow orchestration and automation, and we launched it at our big annual conference, GitHub Universe, in October last year. And since then, tens of thousands of developers have been using Actions, and we've been getting a ton of great feedback. And your creations, you've been releasing them publicly. We've seen hundreds of really creative and inspiring actions open sourced or released on the GitHub Marketplace. But over the course of the last 9 months, as we've been receiving tons of feedback about GitHub Actions, there's one comment, one piece of feedback we hear again and again and again. You want GitHub Actions to do CI/CD. And so today, we're thrilled to announce the all-new GitHub Actions, now with built-in support for CI/CD. I can't tell you how hard people have worked to make this possible. And when we decided to add CI/CD to GitHub, we didn't want to just do it the basic way. We wanted to do it the GitHub way, right? And what does that mean? It means doing it the way that developers want it to work. And so, first of all, GitHub Actions is fully integrated into GitHub. It's built in. From the merge box to the checks tab, from the UI to the API, it works the way GitHub works. Second, we know that you want to run jobs not just when someone pushes new code or on a pull request. You want to be able to trigger workflows on any GitHub event, right? Any event that occurs on GitHub, a new contributor, a new issue, maybe a dependency in your GitHub package registry gets updated and you want to trigger a workflow based on that. Any event where there's a webhook that you can listen on can now be used to trigger a workflow with GitHub Actions. Third, community is really at the heart of GitHub. GitHub's about sharing. And so anything that you build with GitHub Actions is shareable because ultimately it's just code in a repo. So you can make it public, you can fork it, you can edit it, build on it, and make it yours. And then finally, GitHub is agnostic. Whatever language you're using, whatever platform you're building for, wherever you're deploying your code, it'll work with GitHub Actions. And of course, because it's built in, we eliminate all the drudgery for you. There's no need to manually configure and set up CI/CD. You don't have to set up webhooks. You don't have to buy hardware. Go reserve some instances out there, keep them up to date, do security patches on your images, spool down idle machines, none of that. We do everything for you. You just drop one file in your repo, and it's working. So the best way to understand the power of GitHub Actions is actually for you to see it. And so please welcome my colleague from the GitHub Actions team, Jeremy Epling. Come on up, Jeremy.
Really excited to show what we've been working on for the last couple of months with GitHub Actions. And I'm just one person that's part of a big team across all of GitHub that's been making this happen. So the best way to go see this is to actually see it live and in action. So let's jump into a repo. What I have in this repo is I built a simple node module that's never had CI/CD set up at all, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to get started with GitHub Actions. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go over here and click on the Actions tab right in this repository. One of the things that you'll notice is we automatically suggested a set of workflows to help you get started. So we know that I'm using JavaScript in this repository, so we said, hey, here's 2 sample workflow files that you could use to get started. One of them sets up CI for a Node.js app. One of them looks at a package and not only does CI, but it also will deploy that to GitHub package registry and to NPM. But we know GitHub's a lot more than just a single language. We support any language, any platform, and any cloud. So if I go down, depending on what the code is in that, you'll notice we have starter CI templates for every single language you can imagine. So you can see Rust, Python. If I scroll down, you can see we have many, many more of these, just to make it really easy for you to get started. But as Nat said, GitHub Actions is really a lot more than just CI/CD. It really can connect all of the different tools and services that you use. And it can respond to any event on GitHub. It doesn't just have to be a code push or something like that. It could be creating a new issue, a comment, someone new comes to your repository and joins as a member. So we have another set of workflows that you can get started with as well for a lot of common tasks that maintainers have to deal with, such as greeting a new contributor. You can go ahead and automate that if someone's a new contributor. You can automatically label issues based on files that are changed in the repository or label pull requests. And you can automatically mark and close stale issues. And these are really just the beginning of what I'm excited to see the community go and build. I think of GitHub, when it's at its best, we're really a canvas for developers to express their creativity and build lots of cool things. So let's go back up and just get started with CI/CD. So I'm going to click right here and set up this workflow. And what you'll notice is we automatically created a YAML workflow file directly in your repository. So we have a very easy syntax that's easy to go and learn and get started with. We have a simple CI template, again, set up right here. And then you'll notice over here, we actually, just to make it even easier to get started, we have a sample of some of the common things developers want to go do. And then this has links to even more detailed help documentation on the format. So what I'm going to do is scroll down to actually do a matrix build. So one of the things that we support is not just Linux, but you can build across Mac, Windows, and Linux. So I'll go over here, make some edits to this YAML file. And because it's just a file in my repository, I'm going to go through the normal process of committing and creating a pull request. So we'll go through and create a new branch. And then let's go ahead and kick off a pull request. And what you'll notice is we immediately started running CI. So you can see the CI jobs coming in now, where we're running across Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. This is all right in your pull request, right in the merge box, right where you expect it to be. Now we can go over here and let's click on the details to go see what this is. GitHub now has live streaming logs built directly into the experience. And you'll notice as they come in, we have color coding and emoji support as well. So just like you would expect from anything that you would see on your terminal, you see it right here in all of its glory and beauty. So over here, you can see we already finished the Linux build. The Mac build is running as well, and then Windows is coming too. Maybe I want to go search my logs, though, because a lot of the times I'm looking for a test, or there's an error I'm trying to go find. So I can go over here and look for a specific test, git list, and I can search across all of my logs right there. If I click here, I can do other things too. Maybe I'm debugging a time-sensitive error, and I want to go show timestamps on every single line. Maybe I want to go download an archive of all the logs, so I can get all the logs all together across all the different jobs, or I can just view the raw logs right there in plain text. So this shows you how easy it is to get started, but let's look at a little bit more interesting case. So a lot of open source is really about building and deploying packages. So let's go in here and look at a workflow file that does a little bit more. So one of the things you'll notice is right in my repository, I have a .github folder with workflows, and I can have multiple different workflows in there. So I have greetings already set up, stale, as well as CI. But if I had a large repository, you can even do filters on specific paths. So I could have multiple different builds kicked off for that same repository if I had different apps in it as well. So let's click on the CI YAML and see a little bit more interesting case here. One of the things you'll see is I name this workflow, so it's my CI workflow. Over here, you'll notice this on event. This is where you can specify the trigger for your workflow. And we work with any event that happens on GitHub. But not just events that happen on GitHub, it's anything in the entire GitHub ecosystem. So any app that's installed into your repo can also produce events that you can trigger off of. So let's say that you're going ahead and using any one of the many tools that are out there. Maybe you're using Jenkins, or you're using Artifactory, or anything else. You can go ahead and trigger workflows off those as well, or GitHub events as well. So just to show you that, I can show you the broad list of events that we support here. And it's just about everything. You can imagine editing on a wiki, uploading a package to GitHub package registry, doing a deployment, a comment on an issue, whenever a label is created. Any of those events you can automate. So down here, what I've done is for this one, it's CI. So I'm just doing a couple code events. So I'm doing, OK, let's go ahead and kick this off whenever a pull request happens. But I only want to do that if the pull request is targeting the master branch. And same for push. So we have built-in filtering as well. We can filter on branches, and then also file paths, and again, many more things. Down below here, you can see the jobs that are running in the build. So we have a matrix strategy running right here. So this one is doing a little bit more. It's not just building across 3 different operating systems. It's also building across multiple different versions of Node as well. And this doesn't have to be Node. It could be Go or any other runtime. So what this is doing is really multiplying this out. So there will be 9 simultaneous jobs kicked off at the same time. So what that allows you to do is really speed up your testing and deployment processes by doing all of this much faster and getting a much broader set of testing. Down here, these are the individual steps that are running inside this job. And this is where it gets really exciting for me to think about GitHub Actions. One of the things you'll notice is we have this uses command right here. So this lets you reference an action that lives in another repository. And one of the awesome things about this is you don't have to go install an action or deal with any of that, or install a GitHub act just to be able to leverage another action. All you have to do is put a JavaScript file inside a repository, and that is an action. So let's go over here and see this one. This one is living in the Actions org on GitHub in the setup node repository, and the version of that one I'm picking is just a branch. So that could be a branch or a tag. So let's click over here, and let's go check out this repository. So one of the things that you'll know right here, again, actions are just a repository. So we can drill into the source for this, and we can see we wrote this one in TypeScript. And again, this is just a JavaScript file setting in a repository. That's how easy it is to get started with GitHub Actions. Again, when you think of the evolution of where the GitHub platforms come, originally we had commit status, where you could just post some basic data to let people know, hey, is this good or bad, or something. Then we had GitHub Apps, where you could extend. Now you don't even have to worry about setting up compute or deploying a server or anything like that. You just go ahead and check a JavaScript file into a repo, and anyone on the entire GitHub community can go ahead and leverage that. So we're running that for you right in the GitHub cloud. So let's jump back to our workflow file. And in addition to having these different actions, you can obviously pass in parameters for those actions just using with. And then we also support running inline scripts. So any tool that you can imagine that's out there that has a CLI, GitHub Actions supports it. Down below here, obviously, I've kicked off a lot of these build and tests all simultaneously. It's for a fan-out scenario. Now I want to fan back in to actually publish my packages. So in this case, I have two publishes going in parallel. So you can see I'm publishing to NPM right here. And then I'm also publishing to GitHub Package Registry. And this needs is basically saying, hey, whenever the build completes, whenever all those completes, go ahead and kick these off in parallel. And what you'll notice is, obviously, when I'm publishing to NPM, the last thing I want to be doing is checking my credentials into my source code. So GitHub has a built-in secrets store to make it easy to go ahead and deploy to any package registry or to any cloud. And you'll notice right here, I just set an environment variable, and I said, here's my token, and then I do secrets.npm token, and then that's how I reference our secrets store. But let me show you where that is. It's right in your repository. So if you just click on settings, and then you go over to secrets, you can see my tokens right there, a secure secret store built into every repository on GitHub. Now, this is really interesting to see what we've done for being able to build, test, and deploy packages. Now I want to welcome up Mel, one of the maintainers of Yarn, to show how Yarn is using this for CI/CD, but then also an awesome action that he built.
Hi. As you might know, Yarn is a quite large open source project, and that means that we have to interact with a lot of different people, users and contributors alike, in order to make it work. What you might not know is that we are also a very small core maintainer team, so in this context, anything we can do to decrease the maintenance friction is welcome, be it the time spent running CIs, or pull request review process, or issue triaging. Everything we can trim helps. So when GitHub told me that they were working on enhancing actions, the first thing I did was to try out switching our existing CI workflow to this new system. And it actually worked. In fact, it actually worked so well that I had some extra time to spare on other things. So one thing I did in particular was about reproduction cases. See, one of the problems we have when working in the open source is that we often get issues, and most of the time isn't spent actually fixing those issues. Most of the time is often spent trying to understand the issues, try to figure out how to reproduce it. Is it actually a problem? Why can't I reproduce it? And then you go back to the author of the issue, and then you ask more information. And all of this is extremely time-consuming. So I wanted to try something in order to automate this process so that when I go to an issue, I know for sure how to reproduce it. So in order to do this, I built an action that is triggered each time an issue is opened. And when it happens, it finds out the code block surrounded by a special type of fences and runs it locally. And so, for example, in this case, it detected that there is this code block. It ran it inside a container, and then reported back on the issue to tell me whether the issue is reproducible or not. And it allows a lot of other use cases. For example, if I want to release a new version of the project, then the bot can just check whether all the opened issues are still valid or not. So this kind of automation is extremely valuable for us because working in the open source, as I mentioned, is extremely time-consuming. So the less time we have to spend on the maintenance side is the more time we can spend on building the project, which is what really matters. Even better, those automated workflows also improve the quality of life of our external contributors, making it more likely that we will continue to get valuable contributions in the future.
I love that action. It's just, I mean, Mel's being a little modest here. He actually started that yesterday morning. So one of the things, yeah. That's what gets me up every day. It's like, why do I love to work at GitHub? I love to see what developers can do with the platform we build. It's just so exciting. And I think that Actions is this brand new part of the GitHub platform that'll really expand it out. You don't have to worry about running your code. You don't have to worry about a runtime. You can just write some JavaScript and automatically automate anything that happens on GitHub or anything on the entire GitHub ecosystem. And it's just amazing to see what people will build. And I know this is just the beginning. People are going to be remixing these actions into different workflows. And because they're just files in a repository, you can go to any open source project. You can go up to Yarn and be like, I love the way Yarn works. Let me see what those are. You can go ahead and fork. You can look at those workflow files. You can copy them over, fork them, customize them, make them your own. So a core part of GitHub Actions is really about customizing that GitHub experience to make it your own so that you can focus on what matters, which is working on your code in your project. So we've shown you a couple different examples here. But obviously, we can do a lot more than build, test, and publish packages. Another core scenario is CI/CD for web services as well. So what I've got here in this repository is I'm actually building a container, testing it, and then I'm deploying it to multiple different clouds. So let's go ahead and open up this workflow file. And one of the things you'll notice, again, familiar syntax at the top on like and subscribe to any event. I'm looking at a couple different events here. And then I have this build job. Again, I'm checking out using a built-in action. And then I'm just running a script right here to go ahead and build a Docker image and then push this to GitHub package registry. Down here below, I'm immediately kicking off a deployment, but I could have had my event just be, hey, whenever something is pushed to GitHub package registry, whenever something's pushed to Artifactory, any of those, I could also be kicking off a deployment. But down below, what you'll notice is I'm also deploying to AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. And with each one of these, I'm using a specific action that's living in a repo, add a specific branch or version. In this case, I'm passing in or setting environment variables. In this case, I'm passing in some parameters for a JavaScript action. But again, this is how easy it is just to get set up to deploy to any cloud that's out there. So now let's go over here and look at a pull request that I merged a little bit ago and see what the output of one of these looks like. So I'll go over to the checks. And just as you saw before, we have live logs that are all right there. I can go ahead and open this up right here and see the output of what happened while I was building this Docker container image. So you'll notice we also have code folding built directly in as well. So this allows you to really focus on what matters when you're reading the logs and not get kind of drowned in repetitive output. One of the cool things that we do here, though, is we actually color code and highlight the exact lines of what you wrote in your file. So you can easily see what did you wrote and how did we interpret that. So in this case, we took this and turned it into a shell script just to execute it. But again, if you had passed parameters or anything like that, you'll be able to see all of that right there. And then if I scroll down, you'll notice we've automatically color-coded this warning. So maybe this was an error or a warning. I actually am not really sure what this is telling me, so I want to go share this with somebody else and get some help. What I can do is just come over here, and with one click, I can copy a link directly to that line in the logs. Go over here, and you'll notice the entire page will refresh. We'll go ahead and scroll the logs down directly to the line, and then you can see that that line is already highlighted. So again, when you're going to someone else, instead of telling them, hey, open up this step, go to this line number, they're digging, they're looking for what it is, you can send a line directly to what they need to do to keep them in their flow. So a big part of any deployment is obviously feature flags. So I'd like to welcome up Edith, the CEO of LaunchDarkly, to show how they're using GitHub Actions for CI/CD, as well as the awesome action that they built.
I'm Edith Harbaugh. I'm the founder and CEO of LaunchDarkly. LaunchDarkly helps software teams worldwide deliver and control their software. Feature management is a best practice that's used by our customers like NBC, Intuit, and BMW, and we serve over 300 billion features a day. So I'm really passionate about feature flagging, and here is what I'm excited about in particular is a major complaint about feature flagging is technical debt. So to back up a little bit, a feature flag is a way to ship a bit of code off and then selectively turn it on for different people. So this is the LaunchDarkly dashboard, and here we have a show live tiles feature that we selectively enabled to turn on to people after a certain date. You can also do stuff with us like a kill switch, and even do a progressive rollout with some people at a time. So this feature is live, it's running great. I can go into our Insights tab, yep, going really well. And now comes the hard part for a lot of people. Their feature is great out in the field, and it's like cleaning up your room. Nobody really wants to go and tidy up the socks. You're like, well, everything is great. So with GitHub Actions, we added this feature of code references. And this tab allows you to click in and see exactly all the places where a feature is used. And then you can go and view it in source. And it jumps down to exactly where it is in your source so that you can really easily clean it up. And this is all enabled by actions. So we've built an action here where every time somebody checks in code, it pushes out to LaunchDarkly exactly where the code is used. So now we have a workflow where a developer could say when a feature is completely rolled out, they can go in, see exactly where it is, pull it out, and then have a much tidier code path without stale code. And this is all enabled by an extremely simple YAML file. This is just 18 lines of code. So very simple and very easy to use. LaunchDarkly itself has exactly 18 client libraries. They're all hosted on GitHub and they're open source. We have all the most popular languages, and we have both client and server-side support. So I'm personally very excited about this new feature of code references and how it was enabled by GitHub Actions. It was an honor to be part of the launch activities today.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy, Mel, and Edith. Isn't that awesome? I'm pretty excited. Let's recap a few of the highlights of what you just saw and some of the reasons that we're excited about GitHub Actions. So first, your GitHub Actions can run in a container or on a virtual machine with support for Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. Actions support matrix builds natively so that you can run parallel jobs across operating system versions, runtime versions, or any variable you want to use to multiply your workflows. And as Jeremy showed, Actions have built-in support for real-time feedback in the form of streaming logs that are searchable, support colors, emojis, and are deep linkable that you can use to help pinpoint a log line and send that to a friend or colleague. We know that a lot of the work that you need to do with GitHub Actions and in your workflows involves integrating third-party services and tools. And to do that securely, you don't want to put your tokens in your source code. You need a secret store. And so every repo on GitHub now comes with a secure secret store where you can store your secrets, update them easily. And then, of course, because it's GitHub, actions are easy to write. They're easy to share. You can build on them. And this is really, I think, for me, at the core of what we're doing here. Right? Our worldview at GitHub is this view that software development is actually a global team sport. And we often think about developers as working in isolation, kind of solo on projects, alone in their rooms. But the truth is that every line of code we write builds on the work of thousands of other developers. And with GitHub Actions, because your workflows are just code, right? You can now build on people's workflows too. So we're really excited to open up this possibility for all of us to learn from the world's most productive, most inventive teams. I was also super blown away by Mel's action that he demoed earlier, where he can automatically check issues that get filed to see if they're reproducible or not. Like, that's an incredible creative idea, and now we can all go to Mel's repo and learn from that. And so I think that's incredibly exciting. And so to make this possible, we are making GitHub Actions completely free for public repositories. So if the open source community can use GitHub Actions. Our aim is to support any community that chooses to use GitHub Actions for CI/CD or workflow automation. Now, for private repos, we're going to offer really simple pay-as-you-go per-minute pricing. Every GitHub user will get a bunch of free minutes, whether you're a free user or whether you're paying us to get you started. And then above that, you'll just pay as you go. So you'll get anywhere between 2,000 minutes a month for free accounts up to 50,000 minutes a month included in your GitHub plan for enterprises. And then if you need extra minutes, we have really competitive, great pricing, different prices for Linux, Windows, and Mac. And so by including these offers in every GitHub plan and by making GitHub Actions free for public repositories, we are enabling 40 million developers around the world to leverage GitHub for CI/CD and for workflow automation out of the box at no extra cost. Really excited about that. Now, if you don't want to run on our machines, you don't have to. Later this year, we are going to release and open source our runner so that you'll be able to run all these actions, all these workflows, all these builds on your own machines for free at no cost to you at all. It'll work on Linux, Windows, and Mac. It's the same one that we're running up on our hardware. It's super portable, runs on x86, runs on ARM. You can even run it on a Raspberry Pi if you want to. So we're pretty thrilled about this. Look forward to getting your pull requests. Now, you heard from Mel and the Yarn project, but over the last several months, we've been so lucky to get to work with a bunch of really great open source projects on GitHub Actions. These are all projects that have been using Actions and providing us with feedback. They include awesome communities like SciPy and Bootstrap and Ruby and NumPy and others. And so later today, you'll be able to go to some of these repos like Yarn and Bootstrap and just look at their workflow files, see how they're using Actions, learn from them, and build on them. We're also incredibly lucky at GitHub to be working with some of the biggest companies in the world. And so we want to offer our thanks to companies like UBS, Dow Jones, Philips, and SAP for all their great feedback on GitHub Actions so far as well. You know, thousands of developers at these companies rely on GitHub every single day to do their jobs, and we're honored to have the opportunity to serve their workflow automation and CI/CD needs as well. Now, one of the things that I find most amazing about GitHub is it's not just a tool that you use, it's also a platform that developers around the world can extend. And every day we see these different creative and unexpected ways that developers and companies are extending GitHub, extending developer workflows using the GitHub platform. And as Jeremy said, what's really exciting about GitHub Actions is it makes the platform more rich. It's a richer platform. There's more new ways that you can extend the platform. There's new APIs. There's new events that you can listen to, and any GitHub app can also generate its own custom events that can trigger workflows. So there's a real extensibility play here that we think is really exciting for developers. Any third party, like LaunchDarkly, can use Actions to trigger a CI/CD build or any other workflow and can listen on any event. And then you, as developers and your teams, can choose any tool in the world to integrate with GitHub through GitHub Actions very easily, whether that's one of our partners like LaunchDarkly or CodeCov or Coveralls or another CI vendor like Circle CI or CodeFresh. GitHub gives you the choice, and that's very important to us. So we're working with all the companies that are listed here to provide great integration with GitHub Actions, and some of these have already released some integration, and some of it will be coming soon. I personally can't wait to see what the community does on GitHub Actions and to see more creative ideas get released and for us all to get to learn and kind of work like the best. So you can actually get started doing that today by signing up for the beta. So for those of you who are here in the room in San Francisco, we're going to be enabling GitHub Actions with this new CI/CD support on your accounts in the next 24 hours or so. So please be patient. Some people have already cornered me and been like, hey, it's not enabled yet. So it's happening. It's happening. If you're already in the Actions beta, we're going to be rolling out these new features for you over the next week or two. So we're going to be releasing thousands. The phrase that was used was opening the floodgates. So prepare yourselves. It's coming. And we'll be letting new signups in aggressively over the course of the next month. But we are not going to be in beta for long. In fact, we're planting a stake in the ground today. Because GitHub Actions will be generally available on GitHub for all users on November 13th. This year. That's in 97 days. There will be 97-day countdowns in front of every GitHub developer over the next, and GitHub package registry we're also planning to make generally available at the same time. So that's just 97 days away. Please give it a try. Send us your feedback. People seem to have no trouble finding me on Twitter, so continue to do that. It's totally fine. November 13th is also a special day for us because it's the first day of our annual developer conference, GitHub Universe, where we first unveiled GitHub Actions last year. It's here in San Francisco. It's November 13th and 14th. And in addition to the news that we just made, we've got some other major product announcements that'll be coming out then that we're really excited about. So tickets are on sale now, and we hope you can join us in person. OK. The GitHub team has worked awfully hard to get to this day. This is the culmination of a ton of work. We are so excited that we got to share it with you. Thank you for spending part of your day, part of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are with us today. We hope you're as excited about GitHub Actions as we are, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you very much.